This podcast is sponsored by funkytshirts.co.uk.
It gets more outrageous. As you say, the thermal imaging bit was like,
it was a very Austin Powers sort of joke, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
but
exactly
they took
that.
it to the next level, and it was like, oh my god. Hello there, and welcome to More Movies Podcast, episode 71.
71 degrees in downtown Manhattan, headed up to a tolerable 81.
Hello there, you are tuned to the More Movies Podcast. My name is Greg Fisher. With me, as always, is my good friend and colleague, Mr. David Roberts. How are you doing this week, Dave?
I'm doing very well, sir, very well. It's almost Christmas. It's almost the end of 2025.
This is the 2025 wrap. So, we're going to be going over all the movies that we've seen in the last month or two. Which is quite a few. I think we've got 11 stacked up, 11 different movies, just to go over what we're going to be covering in this episode. So we're going to be talking about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Eddington, Weapons, House of Dynamite, The Phoenician Scheme, The Long Walk, Anemone, Spinal Tap II, John Candy, I Like Me, and The Naked Gun. So there's a lot to get through on this episode. It's our usual tradition now that we do a wrap up at the end of the year. We'll probably be talking about other films that we've been looking at this year, incidentally, here and there. But yeah, you've got some favourites in this list here that we're going to be covering?
Yes, there's some favourites, and then there's some big disappointments.
Let's find out which ones he loved and which ones disappointed him. Okay, so the first film on our list is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. This is a reworking of the famous novel by Mary Shelley. It's been done many times, for example, with people like Boris Karloff, or Gene Wilder was in the Young Frankenstein there. I remember the Kenneth Branagh one from the 1990s with Robert De Niro.
Oh, yes.
Probably the closest to this one in a way, but we'll get to that. This one stars Oscar Isaacs. It also has Maya Goth, Christoph Waltz, and Jacob Elordi, amongst others. So, Dave, Frankenstein, Netflix.
Yes.
Has it been done too much, or was this another welcome addition to the canon?
Well, so I'll say that when they first announced it, I just thought, another Frankenstein? Again, like, you know, it is one that's been like, yeah, as you say, it's been in so many times. It's hit and miss, right? Some of them are brilliant, and some of them are atrocious. But it's a strong story. It's lasted all this time, so, you know, but what can they do with it? You know, but it's Guillermo del Toro, so the quality is bound to be up there. I didn't catch Pinocchio, but you mentioned to me that, you know, it's how good it was, and of course all his great other films. He certainly has a style, and that style really shines through in this, and you kind of walk away going, this suits it. This suits exactly what is going on here. You know, and then you find out this has been a dream project for him for years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's been wanting to make it for a long time. It almost came about like 20 years ago.
Really, that long?
Yeah, so it's been around for him, so he finally gets to make it, and I think he did a terrific job. It diverges a bit from the original story, but what he's done is really strong. It's emotional. It's a very human story. I mean, as we say, just to start with it just looks gorgeous. This is Del Toro style, right? It's like
every frame of picture.
That's it. You just
go almost every frame of painting. It was very painterly, purposely so. Looked purposely so
gorgeous. It's so colourful. It's so beautiful that there's moments where the camera's moving through things. The set dressing is just out of this world. The CGI here, and there's a few moments I was a little bit, that's a bit iffy.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because you are one to often complain about bad CGI. I thought in this one they did a fairly good job. I've seen other people moan about it because it was quite CGI heavy, but I thought if you're going to do that, this is the way to do it.
It is, and on most, 99% of it was just perfect. It was just done subtly enough, and it blended in with the sets they'd obviously done. Very colourful. It looked nice, and it wasn't like you had big CGI creatures and stuff. There's a lot of makeup done for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was more for like a set expansion and stuff like that. And there was just only a couple of scenes where I went, but you can get away with it fine. But, looked beautiful. Interestingly, was it too beautiful for the story of Frankenstein? That's an interesting...
Some people thought so.
Yeah.
Some people... I spoke to somebody who wanted, I think, some sort of dark gothic horror where there was lots of blood and gore and stuff. And this isn't really that.
No.
This is more of an emotional story.
It is. It is gothic, though. Certainly stylistically, it's got those trappings, but it's a very colourful gothic, isn't it? It's very, like, comic booky in a way, I would say, like graphic novel kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, that's his style, so we expect that.
That is his style, exactly. Shape of Water, things like this. It's told in these kind of chapters. It builds up throughout it all. Brilliant cast when you think of who's in this. Jacob Elordi, Maya Goth, Felix Camera, David Bradley, who I'm a huge fan of, Lars Mikkelsen, Charles Dance, who's always excellent, Christoph Waltz, Ralph Ineson.
And not forgetting the main man himself, Oscar Isaacs, as Dr. Frankenstein. So everybody knows this story roughly. The bare bones of it is there's a mad scientist who's obsessed with bringing the dead back to life. He has all these crazy, experiments that lead him to basically reanimating a dead body. That's the very commonality amongst all the retellings of the Mary Shelley story. This one, I think, like you said, there are differences to the book, but in some ways also very faithful to the original material. That's why I brought up Kenneth Branagh's version that he did in the 90s, because he actually... being Kenneth Branagh and all that, it was like, I'm going to go close to the book here. And that also portrayed Victor Frankenstein as a bit of an obsessive nut, which he is in this. My main takeaway from this is it was very much about parental trauma. Because as we see him as a child, and he's kind of dominated by his father, who's very taskmaster, and he's very rough on him. His mother dies as well when he's a child, so he loses the mother. So in some ways, he's kind of trying to, cheat death by bringing people back to life because he lost his mother, but he really ends up being his father again and being an overbearing, nasty monster himself. Because everybody always says, oh, Frankenstein is the scientist and the monster is Frankenstein's monster. He's not the monster, but really he is in this. Yeah. He's not a monster physically, but as a person, he's an absolute monster. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that definitely comes across. The difference, the main difference I think you see here is that the monster is far more compassionate. In the book, it's a very ruthless monster. Stupid.
Monster. He's more intelligent here. He's more emotional. He's more modern. Yeah. I would say take on it. It's not just he's an ugly, nasty monster come to get you in your nightmares kind of thing. It's a more clever take on it than that.
Yeah.
Which fits really well, and I agree. As you say, it's that parental thing. It's a generational trauma that follows through. The regrets at the end, about revenge and redemption, all these things, which comes through really well.
Yeah, I thought so.
The acting is superb. The story's well told.
Yeah.
It, although it's a long running time, or 2.5 hours, whatever it is.
It was a long one.
But it doesn't feel it so much, I don't think. It's very kinetic. It's a very energetic film. It just keeps moving. It doesn't dwell too long on things. It's like, next.
I thought the first hour, especially, absolutely rocketed by.
Yeah.
I was really into it by then as well. I thought, this is great,
Yeah, and it just keeps on moving. And a satisfying ending to the film as well.
Yeah.
Because, one of my complaints over the last couple of years has been so many films not delivering a satisfying ending. By the end of this, I was like, I like this. Walking off into the snowy deserts, you go, that's perfect pitch for what we've just witnessed.
Yeah. So great performance there from Jacob Elordi.
Very good performance.
That was the one that came out of nowhere in this, I thought.
I think so, because we've seen him take on these roles, and nothing has really stood out for him so far, I don't think.
Well, he was in Saltburn, and that's all that I can remember him from, and I thought, fine, he was all right in that. It was more of Barry Keogh's film, though. Whereas in this, he kind of, he's obviously under a lot of prosthetics to make him look cadaverous and whatnot, but the performance really shone through. And I thought Del Toro also did a fantastic job, like you say, of humanizing the monster.
Yeah.
Rather than just being some dumb slab of meat that, goes round and ends up, murking people and therefore must be hunted down by the angry pitchfork wielding crowd. He was much more of a character.
And he had to deliver the two sides, right? Because in the first half of the film, he is the as yet uninitiated, unintelligent creature that hasn't delivered anything.
Yeah.
And the kind of end bit, which you see throughout as well, because of the chapter and stuff, he is the kind of more aggressive, I'm out to get you monster we know. But he manages to deliver both, and neither of them seem like a caricature of what they're doing. It seems to fit together. So a very good job of it, and a very physical performance from him.
This was one of the best. I really love Del Toro, and I reject any claims that it was unsatisfactory from any quarter. What say you, sir?
I agree. I think this is one I'll go back to now. I think this will become if I want to watch Frankenstein, this will be the one I go back to watch.
I love Del Toro. I think he's ace.
He's a great director.
A great guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. Massive double thumbs up for Frankenstein. Whoa, watch it if you haven't. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix production, so it'll always be on there. Highly recommend. Okay, the next film on our list today is One Battle After Another. This was written and directed by one of our favourite directors, Paul Thomas Anderson. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Chase Infinity, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, and others. Alana Haim, she was in there. There was lots of people in this. They were the main players. Synopsis says, when their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. All right, kinda.
I put something like, Sean Penn gets massive boner and then gets gassed out.
For me, a lot of people have been saying it as well. Film of the year, one of the best films in years and all this. And others have been saying, nah, it's rubbish. But I'm firmly in that camp of one of the best films of the year. Absolutely fantastic. There's so much that I loved about this film. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. He's always been one of my favourite film directors of the last 20 years. We have a top 5 Paul Thomas Anderson article, which I will link down in the description below. So check that out on our website. I probably should add this to it at some point, but God knows what we'll take off. Maybe you can let us know in the comments which one we should take off and put this in. Or maybe, no, keep it as it is. One Battle After Another was rubbish. Let us know. That's all right. That's your opinion. But you're a huge Leonardo fan, so you must have enjoyed this.
I did. This is such an interesting film because so much happens in this film. Even by the end, I know when we came out of the pictures, that so much had happened over the course of the 2 hours, 50 minutes of the film or whatever it was, that I'd forgotten things that had happened at the beginning of it.
You forgot about the boner.
I forgot about the boner. I mean, we talk about films that have scale, that are epic in their storytelling, their journey. This is certainly up there. It just covers so much stuff going on. And so many years and pathways and different things going on that, it is big, but not in a way that gets lost either.
No.
It certainly has a journey, has a continuation that you're following through that is just so fun. It is a thrill ride.
You can't,
it's incredible.
Can't take your eyes off it.
you can't take your eyes off it. It's incredibly funny.
Oh yeah,
in a very like satirical,
well, it says
absurdist way.
Black comedy.
Yeah. And the set pieces for the action are brilliant, breathtaking stuff. You know, you're just like, this is really good. And we kind of expect that. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson is a magnificent director. I think we all know by now how great a director he is. So you kind of expect that kind of quality from him. But Leo, fantastic. Sean Penn, one of the best things he's done in years.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely hilarious. Benicio del Toro, brilliant as always.
Oh, just chef's kiss. My favourite of them all was Chase Infinity. I thought her role and performance was mesmerising, and she played it perfectly. That sort of Gen Z kind of, I'm dealing with all this bullshit from my parents' generation and everything that's going on, but I'm going to deal with it like a boss. I'm going to keep my shit together. A very great central hero for the film, because this is the big thing. You'd think, Leonardo DiCaprio's the hero of it, but really he's his whole thing is he just doesn't give up. He keeps going, but he never really gets anywhere. All he does is pick her up after she's already taken care of business. Mild spoiler there for anyone who hasn't seen it, but don't worry, it won't ruin this film, because there's, like Dave said, there's so much going on in it. Straight away, the political commentary is going on. You've got people in cages that have obviously come over the border, and they're being kept in an encampment. Then these revolutionaries bust in there. They free everybody. They tie up all the police and soldiers and government officials, one of which is Sean Penn. And straight away, you're getting this idea that with everything going on in America at the moment, with ICE and this, kind of fascistic idea of get rid of the foreigners out of our country, they're poisoning our blood. This is the kind of movie you want to see in times like this, because it's got a lot to say about that sort of stuff. Not overtly, it leaves it up to you to decide, where the chips fall. And obviously it is kind of fantastical because it's a Hollywood movie. So there's lots of crazy stuff in there, and it is a kind of an Odyssey adventure. But underneath all that, there's a very, very strong political statement where, I found that it's like Paul Thomas Anderson saying to people, don't forget, these kind of people are out there. And not just the revolutionaries, but, the Christmas adventurers and the black ops kind of government people that come and whisk you off the street and take you to some shady place and put you in a polythene decked room and threaten your life, He's reminding us all that these people are out there. And very exciting stuff. Very nice way to wrap it up, though, like in a black comedy action thriller.
It was, and he did have a lot to say across all kinds of different parts. It is very succinct now in terms of, obviously you got the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is like the KKK, the far right white supremacists,
Illuminati style people,
which
Nazis
are so funny.
It is.
You got the kind of rioting on the streets with the kind of Latin elements. The army putting their own people in there to ignite the riot, to allow the police to get involved. All these elements going on. Then you've got this side thing of like, they're this far left revolutionary kind of conspiratorial type of people who have their own secret network, but they have all these codes and rules about communication and all this, which is just absurd.
What time is it?
Exactly. So there's all these elements which will be very familiar when you're watching it to like the commonalities of the last 20 years, but also I think calling back a lot to like older revolutionary movements and stuff. They're called the French 75. Obviously alluding to World War II.
It never went into it in amazingly great detail, but there was enough there to totally give you the flavour of the ice cream, you know what I mean? And I just bloody loved it. I mean, Benicio del Toro as Sensei. What a performance.
Brilliant.
We're going to be talking about him again in a bit in the Phoenician Scheme, but more of a supporting role than a lead role in this one. But my God, he's like Willem Dafoe to me. Everything he's in, I'm just going to watch it because he's in it, because he's just great.
Yeah. Absolutely hilarious performance. And I think like the moment he comes on screen and starts, from that you're just like, this is hilarious. I mean, this is just every scene he's in from that moment onwards is like,
he's the guy you want on your side when you're in turmoil like that.
Yeah.
And then as it develops, like he's helping Leo out, but then as it develops, he's involved in this network himself of helping these people get into America and stuff. And it's like, what do they call it, Sanctuary City, and he's like a big kingpin and all that. So apparently that was his idea. He brought that to the table when when they were developing, and he said, how about Sensei is involved with all this? So I love the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson is open enough to take that kind of input from his players and say, let's go that way.
Let's do something,
Like you say, Sean Penn, role of a lifetime almost. I mean, he's done a lot of work. He was big in the 80s, kind of started to trail off a bit in the 90s, kind of been a bit obscure for a few years in terms of what he's done film-wise, but this was him back on form, wasn't it? Because, he's playing a real piece of work here.
Oh, he's an absolute bastard. But in terms of, an actor coming along and going, I'm going to put everything I've got into this role and chew the scenery in every single scene I am in. It was just marvelous. His walk, his kind of facial expressions, everything about it was like, this is brilliant.
Absolutely.
From the absolutely hilarious dark comedy aspects to it, to the oh my god, you despicable human being elements of it. You covered the range.
Absolutely. But fantastic film, absolutely brilliant. For me, probably the film of the year. Whether it's an Oscar contender or anything else, I don't really care. I'm not sure about all of that anyway, but it was a damn fine film and an awesome film in Paul Thomas Anderson's canon. So it's a definite double thumbs up from me. Loved
totally
it.
Agree.
Okay, so the next film on our list is Eddington. This was written and directed by Ari Aster. Following up his fourth movie now, following up Hereditary 2018, Midsommar in 2019, and Beau is Afraid, which we covered a couple of years ago, 2023 that was. We actually covered that on the podcast a few back, so if you're interested, you can go back and check out that episode. So his fourth feature film, also listed as a dark comedy satire contemporary western, this one says, rather than political thriller. The synopsis says, in May of 2020, a standoff between a small-town sheriff and a mayor spark a powder keg as neighbor is pitted against neighbor in Eddington, New Mexico. So 2020, so it's set during the COVID period, COVID lockdown. So it's got a lot to say about that stuff. We've got Joaquin Phoenix here, Pedro Pascal, Austin Butler, Emma Stone, amongst others. I'd say it's got very close ties with One Battle After Another, although the two films are not alike at all.
No,
in their story or in the way that they play out, but they are very similar in that sense that they're films of the time, and they've got a lot to say about the state of affairs in America and world politics at the moment, and effects obviously from the COVID pandemic, etc. So I'd put them on the shelf together in that sense, even though they're very different in other ways. They kind of linked to me in my mind. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, they certainly, as you say, they're not alike in terms of how they're constructed in that sense, but the political economy of these films is in the same ballpark. Very interesting film. This is perhaps one of my favourites of the year. As you say, it talks about COVID. It's set in the lockdown of this town. It is all... it's like a cinematic version of doom scrolling.
yeah, that's good.
It's it's like everything you read on Facebook or whatever social media during COVID lockdown is this film. The batshit crazy stuff is poured into this. I think it's a pretty fearless film, like in terms of we're just gonna go batshit crazy for this. And I've really enjoyed it because it's like you're meandering in this world for 2 hours, just embodying what's happening, kind of observing day-to-day life of this crazy, very small town, and it's almost Lynchian. It's this kind of David Lynch Western kind of thing going on, and all this crazy stuff, until the last 25 minutes or so, when the film suddenly turns into Commando with Schwarzenegger, and at that point it's even better, and it's absolute frenzy and awe. But I thought it was brilliant. I thought the performances were really good. Joaquin Phoenix being brilliant.
Another one of the greatest actors of our time, for sure.
Absolutely. Pedro Pascal was great as the slimy mayor, really.
Yeah. Emma Stone in there.
Emma Stone, brilliant.
And
you've got
a very muted performance from her, because she's kind of like drawn into this cult led by Austin Butler. So you've got that whole element of the kooky people, the QAnon almost types,
And then you've got the kind of mother-in-law who believes in all these conspiracy stuff. She's brilliant, because every scene she's coming out with some other batshit crazy Facebook email thing she's found, and it's just hilarious.
Deirdre O'Connell,
absolutely brilliant there. The guys who play the cops in the sheriff's office and stuff. The whole cast does a really good job of making you believe these characters that are like, oh yeah, it's like a town hall meeting in the back of El Paso or something. It's like some crazy people out there, and there's a lot going on, but not a lot going on. It's pretty basic in terms of it's like a conspiracy, a murder plot, jealous political campaigning and stuff.
Jealous lovers as well. There's all that
jealous lovers,
because his wife going off with Austin Butler. And I mean, the one thing I thought it did very well was stayed completely neutral in terms of how it portrayed everyone, whereas One Battle After Another didn't really do that. It portrayed the government and the Christmas adventurers as clearly the bad guys, and the loony left revolutionaries as the good guys. It was very ambiguous, because Joaquin Phoenix, at first you think, what a son of a bitch he is. He doesn't want to wear a mask. He's one of those types. He's a real pain in the arse, and he's, trying to dominate his community by, because he's the sheriff and stuff. But as you get into the film more, you start to sympathize with him a little bit more, about not necessarily in any of those points, but in other different ways. So it does a very good job of sort of manipulating your feelings in that sense, because, you don't know quite how to feel about anyone. Like at first you think, oh, Pedro Pascal, he's the voice of reason. He's, come on, you got to wear a mask, you got to do that. But as things transpire, you see more of his seedy and creepy side that you're like, oh, this guy's a bit of a shit, actually. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's very like the chess pieces move throughout the film as to like, oh, I like him. Oh no, he's a dick. And I think that happens with a lot of the characters. You're like, hold on.
Yeah.
So it's very ringy. And then let's say the last kind of section of the film is just mad and brilliant, and it suddenly turns into an action film and police procedure.
I mean, I've got to say, I was completely lost by the end, where he's running around the streets with that huge machine gun, and there's like black ops guys after him, and I was thinking, what the hell's going on now? Am I watching the same film? This is nuts. But in all honesty, it's something I need to watch again.
Yeah, I mean, I loved that kind of ending where it was like, oh, we're completely flipping this now.
Yeah.
And then the very ending is like very cold, very kind of like, oof, this has not turned out well for anyone, really.
No. And not surprising, because all the characters were kind of loathsome. Yeah. But an interesting film. Like I said, I'd definitely put it on the shelf with One Battle After Another, but it's very different in a lot of ways. I mean, the ways it's similar as well. It's also quite long. It's 2.5 hours long, but again, it's got quite a pace, so you don't really notice the length as much. And there's kind of, like you said about One Battle After Another, you start watching it, and by the end of it, you forgot stuff that happened at the start because you've been caught up in what's happening currently. So very similar in a lot of ways, and very, very poles apart in other ways.
Yeah, and much like Beau is Afraid, like it, it's a brave film and intriguing questions to ask the viewer kind of as you're going through it, and so I think a lot of fun and another great one for his catalogue. I think he's such an interesting director.
Definitely. I mean, look at those 4 films. I mean, Hereditary, out and out horror. Midsommar was a bit of a horror as well, very much influenced by The Wicker Man, that kind of thing. But I loved Midsommar. I thought it was an amazing film.
Yeah.
Beau's Afraid, completely different. Absolutely nuts, crazy, surrealist adventure film. And this one, again, completely different. Contemporary, like you said, political drama with action thrown in. Again, political commentary on the times we're living in. Like you said, all that about doom scrolling, all the stuff about COVID. I mean, very interesting filmmaker, very interesting, and one to watch for future. He's always going to come out with something you're just not expecting.
I think so, yeah. It's interesting though as well that almost this is his most realistic film.
Yes.
His most grounded realism film, and yet it's still like weird.
Completely off the fucking reservation. Yeah, brilliant film. I really enjoyed it. I give it 1 thumbs up. This one, I give it 1 thumbs up, and not because I didn't absolutely love it, but I just think it's a more peculiar taste. So some people are not going to get on with it. I think One Battle After Another, for all its brilliance, was more accessible and possibly a little bit more generic in that sense. Even though it's not, but when compared to this, it definitely is. But a companion piece for sure.
Absolutely, and I agree. It's definitely a Marmite film where it's like some people are not going to like this at all, and
But it's the same with all his films, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that.
And it's like David Lynch. It's a sign of a great director, because not everybody's going to love that stuff, because they're just going to think this is weird, this is strange. Please just spoon feed me some escapism. Whereas this one is you're gonna come away with many thoughts.
Yeah. Far more brave, and it's
brave is the word. So there we go. Eddington, definitely recommend it. Fantastic film. Check it out. Let us know in the comments what you thought of it if you've seen this. Our next film is Weapons, which was written and directed by Zach Cregger. Don't know him, but he's done this one for sure. It's a mystery horror. Stars Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Eldon Ehrenreich, who we like, he's a great actor, Benedict Wong and Amy Madigan. The synopsis says, when all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. So Julia Garner plays the teacher of the class. She comes in one day and everybody's gone from her class except one little boy. And then we learn that all these kids have gone out of their houses in the middle of the night and disappeared. No one knows where they are. She is kind of targeted by the community and the parents because she's their teacher. So a lot of them are saying, they write witch on her car and all this stuff. And a lot of people are suspecting her, but she's wants to know just as much as anyone else what the hell's happened. So what happens in this film as well, we get the same story points told from different points of view. So at first we're with Julia Garner as the teacher, and then it switches to other characters that we meet along the way, and we see the same events happen from their point of view. And I kind of like that. Sometimes that's a cool storytelling device. It's been done many times over the years. Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa is one example I can think of. But it's also... when it happened in this, I thought, we're leaving her now and we're going to him and we're going to tell it from his point of view. So it tells it from, she's got a friend who's a cop played by Eldon Ehrenreich, and we see events from his point of view. And it makes things quite interesting because the stuff happens to him before he meets up with her in her part of the story. And you think, oh my God, is that going to have an effect? Then it tells it from the little boy's point of view and whatnot. And we basically find out, spoiler alert, that the little boy's auntie has come to town, played by Amy Madigan, which I've only really ever known from Uncle Buck. Great in that, fantastic. But in this, she's a real piece of work. I enjoyed it. I thought this was, for a horror film, modern horror film, which are always kind of take them or leave them. I thought this one was really good. I kind of enjoyed it. I like Julia Garner. I like Eldon Ehrenreich. Josh Brolin as well. gave a good performance in it. He's the kind of like, remember that film Prisoners with Hugh Jackman, where he's like, I've got to find out what's happening. He's kind of like the angry dad, isn't he? He wants to know what's going on. But there was enough happening in this that I didn't see coming, that I thought, wow, that's really cool. That's really interesting. Some really sick shit in there as well, which was like, ooh. And to be honest, yeah, I felt by the end of it, I was kind of like, you know what? I actually quite enjoyed that. I thought it was a good film. Whereas there was one film last year called Longlegs with Nicolas Cage in, which was kind of a similar sort of like modern horror that everybody was bigging up at the time. And I thought, this looks so cool. I'm really can't wait to watch this. And I watched it and I thought, oh my God, awful, terrible ending, and really hated it, even though some people absolutely loved it. With this one, I've heard similar things from people. Some people hated it and thought, oh, it was a rubbish ending. But I actually found it to be pretty cool and quite original. So I ended up enjoying it quite a lot. Now over to you, because I don't think you did.
So it's interesting. I found the first maybe 45 minutes, 60 minutes of the film, I did enjoy. It was genuinely intriguing. I agree with the multiple points thing was working and was an interesting device, because you were getting new information revealed about each time when you got a new character. It was like, there's a bit more of the puzzle being given to me here. And the premise of it all, this children all disappeared apart from one. It's a very intriguing plot device, right? The atmosphere was unsettling. There was this direct, what actually happened, kind of thing building up, and it's like, there were some very violent moments in it, as you were saying, the head teacher kind of scene in the film where he goes back. However, for me, once you got past, and I think it was when you started to get from the little boy's perspective, I believe this happened, is the kind of mystery is revealed really quite early, halfway through the film. Basically, the mystery is revealed. His aunt is this witch. She's dying. She needs something to sustain her life, so she chooses children. It comes in, and then at that point, because the mystery's gone, to me, the whole film kind of deflated on itself and was just like, oh. And for me, from that moment on, it was kind of just quite bland. It was like, it's like every other shit horror film from the early 2000s. Like, it was just like, yeah.
Did you not feel, though, like, once you knew what the crack was, that last section of the film was going to be, so what's going to happen now? Did you not feel like, all right, we know what's going to happen, but who's going to get the upper hand here? And
not really, because you're kind of hoping something interesting is going to occur, and I just felt nothing ever interesting did occur. And then the very end sequence is almost Benny Hill, and by that point, it almost felt by that point that the kind of multi-perspective thing they were doing was a way for them to pad the film out and create this complexity that didn't actually exist. I felt in the story. In the end, it was just like kind of artificially created this mystery that way. That then was like, oh, is that it? Which was disappointing, really, because I'd say the first hour of the film or whatever, building up to it, I was actually really enjoying and was going, where's this going? And I'd heard so many good things. And to be honest, I went to pictures to watch it with my sisters. We were all disappointed, and just looking around at people, and they didn't seem that impressed either by the end. And it was laughably absurd by the end. That it was like, which was a shame, because the opening parts, you were seeing people go, ooh. So I think it lost itself, and I think that was a real shame.
Oh, right, okay. Fair enough. I mean, fair enough. That seems to be, certainly some people's take on it. They seem sort of dissatisfied with the ending. But, I mean, for me, again, I wasn't expecting that much from it anyway. So I agree with you. Once you sort of found out what the crack is, that's kind of, the mystery is over then, because you know who's doing it and why. But like I said, there was an element there for me then that, like, all right, now we know what's going to transpire here, because we've got several players. We've got Julia Garner, we've got Alden Ehrenreich, we've got Josh Brolin. They're all got, a stake in the game. You got the little boy himself. What's he going to do? He's trying to save his parents. You got this evil fucking witch who's dominating everything. So there was an element for me of, I want to see what's going to happen here. Who's going to come out on top? Because with a horror film, you never know. She could have killed them all and walked away going. But anyway, we won't go into the ending too much because maybe some people who listen to us that haven't seen it, so we'll abstain from saying any more about that. I thought it was good performances. Again, Julia Garner, I've not seen her in anything I didn't like. I've seen her in films that I didn't like, but she was still great in them. Josh Brolin, always got time for him. For Alden Ehrenreich was excellent as her lover / the local Bobby. That whole thing with him and that junkie, that whole thread, I thought.
Oh, that was great.
There was lots of little bits, you see, I thought that would take you off on little strands that were very interesting and very good. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't write it off, but
there's certainly very interesting stuff in there, and the acting is all great, and there's some really interesting ideas going on, absolutely for sure. It's just as a whole, it kind of collapses, unfortunately, I think. There's scenes in it which you're like, you're like, this is something.
Yeah.
I think I had more fun, though, in something like, was it last year, Cuckoo?
Yeah, Cuckoo was great. We covered that as well. I'll put a link below to our...
which I think has similar vibes in some ways, and is just something that's a bit more strong.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you about it because I can get that, what you're saying, but there we go. We'll have to leave it to
see what the others think.
Yes, please let us know. Are you in Team Dave or Team Greg for this one, where you thought it was good, or you actually thought it fell apart and went nowhere? But there we go. That's Weapons. I give it a thumbs up, and it's a thumbs down from Dave. Okay, now the next film on our list is A House of Dynamite. This was directed by the fantastic Catherine Bigelow. Again, another one of our favourite directors. I've got a top 5 article of Catherine Bigelow films, which I'll put in the description below. Go and check that out. This was written by Noah Oppenheim. It also stars Idris Elba, Rebecca Ferguson, Jared Harris. Always love to see him, he's ace. Jason Clarke was in there, and a few other new faces I don't really know. Now, similar in again to what we were just talking about with Weapons, that this tells the same story from different points of view. Just to give you an idea of the story, the synopsis says, when a single unattributed missile is launched at the United States, a race begins to determine who is responsible and how to respond. So that's what it's about, really. We're seeing the people from the White House, we're seeing the military, we're seeing government people all be alerted that there's an ICBM been launched from the Pacific and it's heading towards America. They don't know where it's come from. They don't know who's launched it. They don't know where it's going to hit yet, or any of this jazz. So there's obviously supposed to be some sort of tension there. As I've just mentioned, it's told same story again from different points of view. So at first you're with Rebecca Ferguson, and she obviously works at the command center for the monitors things like this, and you see what's happening there, and then you see it from other people's perspectives that are all involved. Like there's a general who turns up and give me 8 sugars, he says in his drink, and eventually you get to the president of the United States, played by Idris Elba, and you see it from his point of view towards the end. So I think it's supposed to be one of these kind of, like I've said, from the command center, from NORAD or whatever they call it, and we're going to DEFCON 1, Mr. President, and lots of close-ups and handheld camera on the, the tension is building between these people as they're watching this missile come towards the United States. I mean, Catherine Bigelow, she's very good at doing these sort of films, especially things like when she did The Hurt Locker, and then she did Zero Dark 30 after that. I mean, these are quality, absolutely brilliant, acclaimed films in her modern oeuvre. We're not going back to when she started. I love Point Break. I love Near Dark, is it? The Vampire one and everything. Yeah. Fantastic films. I like a lot of her stuff. Blue Steel, even, remember that, going back to Jamie Lee Curtis all those years ago. I really do like Catherine Bigelow. This film for me was not House of Dynamite, it was House of Shite. I thought it was awful. Again, this is a Netflix production, so I don't know whether that's got anything to do with it, because she's already proved herself as a fantastic filmmaker. So I don't know what went wrong here, but I found it quite boring. I didn't think it really went anywhere. Politically, I'm not exactly sure what it was saying, considering there's so much going on in America at the moment. Why they chose this as a good idea, I just can't figure it out. And I was just bored to tears. And by the end, I just thought, what the hell? You know, the ending was just, oh my God, you know, just like, are we going to leave it here? Like it's an episode of something, and I expect to tune in tomorrow night and watch episode 2. You know, it was just like, what's going on?
I literally sat down and watched it with Tom, and we sat down, and at the end of it, we literally both turned to each other and went, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like that's the wet fart you're going to end this on?" I mean, just ridiculous. I'd say, I agree. Like, for such a great director, this is so disappointing.
Yeah.
I think the premise is actually interesting. And the first 20 minutes of the film, I was like, okay, tension, what's happening? Okay, you know, what's going to happen? And I'd say, just like the previous film, this is from different vantage points. Here, though, we see exactly the same thing from different vantage points 3 times, and in none of those vantage points is any new information revealed. And in fact, you actually see the same clips play out because they're all on video calls and shit like this. You see the same lines being spoken, the same shots, because they're just on Zoom calls and stuff. And you think, well, what's the fucking point of that? I mean, if you're going to do it, I like something like Vantage Point, great film that does that thing where you see some each time and there's a little bit more information and it builds up to something and you find out in the end. But you got none of that. So it was just boring and repetitive, as you say. You know, it's just like going, oh, Jesus, you're boring me to tears here because nothing is coming in. And by the end, as you say, you're kind of going, what ending? What's it told me? Nothing. It doesn't really reveal anything. I don't know what they were trying to politically say because it just didn't do anything in that sense. Idris Elba's trying to be a cool Obama-style president. They do a weird thing, really, actually, as I found strange as well. For the first 2 kind of perspectives before we get to the president, they kind of hide the president. He's always a black screen on the...
I know, cover. I couldn't understand that.
As if it's a big reveal when you go, he's on the poster.
Yeah.
We know who's playing him.
Yeah.
Was it just too much money if he was on the screen that long? Was that what it was? Like,
it's hard to tell why. And I also found, you know, I mean, he's a great actor and I love him and he played it fine. It's just the material was dog shit. And it's the same with Rebecca Ferguson. She's one of my favourites. I think she's a brilliant actress. But I was really insulted by her character because she's the only strong female lead in it. And she starts crying at that one point because she's worried that her family's going to die, and she's trying to wipe the tears away, and she goes to pieces. And I thought, no, you know, if you work there in this environment, you're one of these people who can control your emotions and keep it together. And you might feel upset, but you do that in private, and you get on with your job. You know, and I thought, what are you trying to reveal about this? You know, the only strong woman in it, and they're making her seem like she's not that strong at all, and she's weepy. And I thought, that's terrible coming from a director like Catherine Bigelow, who really should know better. So that really pissed me off as well, because that's what I felt the one thing they were trying to do was pull in the emotion that it would involve if you knew there was going to be a missile hit. In this case, it's Chicago. And I mean, Jared Harris, another brilliant actor, and he played his role excellent as well. That was probably the closest it got to an emotional thing where he rings his daughter because he knows she's in Chicago and he doesn't tell her. And he just wants to speak to her one last time, and she's there. And you know, that was probably the best scene in it for me. But that's what I felt they were trying to get at, this idea of, oh, you know, these people have got a tough job and they've got to deal with their emotions. But it was just like, what? This is a waste of 2 hours of my life. I'm not going to get back. And I don't say that often about films we cover on the podcast because we tend to try and talk about films we've enjoyed or at least interesting in some way. This was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and now it's annoying as well because it's a film that definitely I go, this should have ticked all the boxes. It's the kind of thing I'm interested in. Political, nuclear war, about American politics, about kind of all these things. It's like, that's ticking the boxes for my kind of movie.
Dave Nuclear War Roberts. That's what
Exactly right. And for it to land like a wet fart like this was just like, yeah, okay.
DEFCON Dave was not impressed.
DEFCON Dave. It was at 1 and not 5.
Yeah. Yeah, terrible. Don't want to say any more about it or waste our listeners' time listening to any more about this so-called political thriller disaster movie. Definitely disappointing. It's on Netflix if you want to waste 2 hours of your life. But yeah, 2 thumbs down, House of Shite. Okay, so the next film on our list today is The Phoenician Scheme. Now, this is written and directed by another one of our favourite directors, Wes Anderson. He is a Marmite director. Some people can't stand his style. Other people absolutely adore it and love it. I have loved most of his films. In the last few years, some of them have been a bit hit and miss for me. This one was a return to form, in my humble opinion. I went to see this at the end of May, so it's been a while since watched this one, but we wanted to put it on the list because you've had a chance to see it now as well. And like I say, we're both fans of Wes Anderson. So this is described as a dark comedy espionage period drama. The synopsis says, a wealthy businessman, Jar Jar Corder, appoints his only daughter, a nun, as the sole heir to his estate. As Corder embarks on a new enterprise, they soon become the target of scheming tycoons, foreign terrorists, and determined assassins. Now, that makes it sound like a bit of a James Bond film, you know, with all this intrigue and action and espionage, but it's not really like that. It's more like a sort of Wes Anderson circus of the bizarre, where you've got lots of comedy in there, lots of set pieces, lots of hilarity, physical humor, over-the-top performances. Again, I always describe him as he's like an 11-year-old who's been given all the tools to make a film. You know, and all the stars, the cameras, the sets, all the money, but it's an 11-year-old kid making these films, which is nice. That's his appeal, in my opinion. I think, you know, that's a nice sort of side of it. Like I said, the last couple of movies of his I watched kind of were a bit of a downturn. After the Grand Budapest Hotel, which I thought was one of his best films, the last couple I watched were not so good, which was The French Dispatch, which we covered a few years ago. And then there was, what was that other one?
Asteroid City, which I haven't seen.
Asteroid City, which was okay, but again, it was a little bit flat. And the one thing you don't want from Wes Anderson is to have a flat movie. But again, we got Benicio del Toro in here. He was the lead. Jar Jar Corder, what a name, brilliant. Just the name itself is hilarious. Completely eccentric character, super rich, but also very ruthless in a lot of ways, and has got a bit of a reputation with everyone who knows him, especially his estranged daughter, who is played by Maya Threppleton, who I didn't know till afterwards is actually the daughter of Kate Winslet. But she's obviously a chip off the old block because she's fantastic and was really good in this. A great foil to Benicio. That father-daughter relationship was hilarious. So as for the rest of the cast, you've got Michael Cera, who was hilarious in it. You've got Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Matthew Almeric, Richard Ayoade, Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch was the baddie in it, absolutely brilliant as a piece of shit son of a bitch. Willem Dafoe was in there with Bill Murray and more. So as usual with Wes Anderson films, you've got a hell of a stacked cast. Anybody who's anybody is in this. Hilarious. I went to Aberystwyth Arts Centre to see this at the end of May. Fantastic theatre. Really great to see it on the big screen. Went along with a couple of friends who did not know what to expect and probably never heard of Wes Anderson. They just said, you know, let's go out and watch a movie. I took them to see this because I really want to see it. They were pissing themselves laughing all the way through. Thought it was hilarious. For about 2 weeks after seeing the film, everyone I spoke to, I would say, help yourself to a hand grenade, because it just became my favourite line.
Help yourself to a hand grenade.
You're very kind.
I agree. It was jam-packed. We were typical Wes Anderson film in that kind of boxed Academy ratio and wonderful compositions as he always does. The production design, meticulous. It has that look. The characters were so outlandish in this one. I felt Benicio del Toro just hilarious.
Oh yeah,
it was so funny, the deadpan humor.
Michael Cera
was so funny in this. Obviously, in the first or second scene, he gets blown to pieces, which is just brilliant. But he returns in it. I loved the daughter, Mia Freepleton, when she's like a nun and stuff, and all the shenanigans going on there were just so funny. Just really great. And every set piece, every chapter you come across, which is a new area, like where he goes to the club with Richard Ayoade and his gang coming to rob the place. Revolutionaries. It's just hilarious, different set piece. Like that's something like out of an Indiana Jones movie or something. Yeah. And then it's off the next bit, which is like a big composition with his sons at his home having dinner. You know, it's all. And
then there was the basketball match with Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks.
Oh yes, just
with him and Riz Ahmed taking them on. Hilarious.
It was so madcap. And just jumps around a lot into all these different things, but so much fun. Yeah. Again, another Odyssey kind of film where it's like going on this journey.
Well, again, we've got a father-daughter story, like with one battle after another. And I found, like, stripping it all away, because there's lots to say, but stripping it all away, he's like up here on the evil scale, or I should say he's down here. The hell on the evil scale, and she's up there closer to heaven because she's a nun. But as it goes on and they spend more time with each other, he becomes slightly less evil, and she's influenced a little bit more by him. And you know, she gets the dagger and stuff like that, and she becomes a little bit more what's the word? I suppose she's not evil at all, of course, but she becomes a little bit more toughened to the world in that sense. You know, ready for action, so to speak. So I like that the fact that, you know, they spend more time together and it creates an equilibrium between them at the center of the story. So yeah, great
definitely, and that was it. The main thing was the film was so much fun.
Yeah,
to just sit there and enjoy. I think with Wes Anderson's best films, they're just enjoyable journeys through this funny, peculiar, very beautiful looking. Story really, and you have a lot of fun at you get these great performances from the actors who really enjoy being there, who take advantage of this kind of opportunity to just dial it all up and just go, I'm gonna go there, and they're so unique and singular. His films, aren't they? So you kind of like, there's not much to compare it to. It's like
you can only really compare them to his other films. You know, they only draw comparisons within his own back catalogue, really, and that's why I said I found this one was a return to form. Some of them have gone off the boil a bit, but he has been going a long time now, and he's made a lot of films, and to maintain that same style, even though they're all completely different and draw on different influences, they've all got that unique Wes Anderson style that you can pinpoint to him immediately. Certain shot styles and the costumes, and like you said, the look of it all is always that's the one thing that remains throughout them all, but otherwise completely different story every time, even though he uses the same players a lot of the time. You know, Scarlett Johansson, she turns up in a lot of them now, and but nice to see Benicio in this one. He was in the French Dispatch. He was the prisoner, remember, with so it was nice that he used him as the lead actor in this one, because he was perfectly cast, I thought, as that character. And like you said, deadpan, really sort of like playing it as if it was the real world. Very funny.
The abode is a lodge perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the sub-Saharan rainforest, accessible only by goat path.
As long as you enjoy the kind of absurdist deadpan comedy that this is going to deliver, it's a really great fun time.
Yeah.
But as you say, like, they are films that some people just don't get on with them for some reason.
No, some people just hate the style, and that's horses for courses. I get that, but But yeah, I mean, the Phoenician Scheme, again, a very strange title. But some people have trouble, I imagine, pronouncing it even. But brilliant all the same. a top-class Benicio del Toro. Maya Threppleton, fantastic. 2 thumbs up. I will be watching it again. So the next film on our list is The Long Walk, 2025, directed by Francis Lawrence. This was based on a Stephen King novel from 1979 that he wrote under a pseudonym Richard Bachman. But this was adapted for screen by J.T. Molnar, who also did that Strange Darling. Remember we talked about that a few months ago?
Yes.
We love that. Absolutely brilliant film. If you want to see our thoughts on that, again, I'll put a link in the description below. So this stars Cooper Hoffman, David Johnson, and most notably Mark Hamill. Synopsis says, a group of teenage boys compete in an annual contest known as the Long Walk, in which they must maintain a certain walking speed or get shot. That's all it says. Doesn't tell you about what they might win or anything else. No, that's all it says. Okay, that's basic enough, and that's fine. So, that's what it is, isn't it? The one thing I didn't know about it when I started watching it, and I didn't realise till afterwards, is he wrote it in 1979, and they based this in 1979. So there's no phones, there's no mobile devices or anything like that. It's based in the past. And as I say, I didn't know that about it because I thought it was kind of a bit more futuristic dystopian kind of thing, which I suppose it was at the time. It's just that now, all these years later, 46 years later, you think, okay.
Well, it's a dystopian 1970s, isn't it? It's like, I guess if you think of something like films from that era, The Running Man, or I don't know, things like that, and it's like a dystopian from that.
Also based on a Stephen King story, yes. The Running Man. Yeah, it is, but it's like a 1979 dystopia, rather than a modern one, and you just sort of anyway. It didn't really matter anyway at the end of the day in terms of the story. I was quite excited about the thought of this when I first heard it. Obviously, we're massive Mark Hamill fans. So it's nice to know that he's doing something that's not Star Wars related or, Joker related or whatever his famous characters. It's nice to see him do something else. And in this, he's like the, what's his character? The Colonel or something like that. The Major. He's the Major, yes, sir. So he's basically in charge of the walk, isn't he? And it's about all these lads. That's the other thing as well. It was all lads. There was no girls in it, and that kind of threw me a bit for a modern film. I thought,
that was part of the. I had to read some of this afterwards because it never tells you this stuff. But it seemed to be there was a lottery that chose males that were. Chose from you, and there's 50 of them, one from each state, and they're trying to win a prize of money. And
I get that it was, a thing at the time, and I think they're in a society where women have been oppressed again. So there are female characters. You've got his mother in it at the start for him and stuff like that. But I thought, for a modern spin on something like this, that's the kind of thing that they might have changed just to bring in some more females into the cast, but they didn't do that, whatever. So the idea is that they go on this long walk, as it says on the tin, and you've got to keep walking at a certain speed. If you drop below that speed, you get a warning. If you don't maintain, back to the 3 miles an hour or whatever it is, then you just get shot, basically. You get shot by one of the soldiers in the armoured vehicles that are escorting you. And that's pretty much it all the way to the end. You just got to win this prize at the end by being, the person who wins gets the choice of, they can have anything of their dreams sort of thing. And I just thought it was a ridiculous premise, and more for the fact that it lasted over several days. Now, I find if they truncated that amount of time to maybe 2 days max, because what you got to remember is they're not allowed to stop for toilet. They're not allowed to stop for a rest at all or for sleep. They've got to keep walking. They've got to maintain this certain speed. And I just found it after 3 days had passed. That's unbelievable. Nobody can still be walking at a pace without any sleep, without any, breaks whatsoever, and keep going that long. I don't care if you're a Olympic athlete or whatever. No one's going to be going without sleep for that long and still be able to be compos mentis I mean, they had bits where I'm tired and I'm sort of half dreaming and stuff, but for me, I was just totally taken out of it after a couple of days because I thought, no way, there's just no way. They'd all be shot by now. They all would have just dropped dead. So on that alone, I'm out, as they say on Dragon's Den. But you know what I mean? It just spoiled it for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous from that perspective in terms of the distance they walked and the amount of days they walked. And although they alluded to like certain ones, like their ankles were coming off, and one of them did take a 5-second shit. It was still ridiculous. You know, they weren't on methamphetamines like the German war machine, so there's no way they'd have carried on walking. Like, it was just preposterous. So yeah, even at that point, it was like just suspending the belief is getting stretched here, you know. I just found it boring.
Yeah, it was.
I was kind of like, when they first said it, I went, "Oh, that's an intriguing idea."
Me too.
I like a post-apocalyptic drama, you know, kind of almost a bottle movie in a sense as well, and all that. I was like, okay, this could be interesting. Maybe it's a character piece, you know, because that's what you'd expect from this.
You would.
But, I mean, I've seen people raving about it, and I'm just like, I don't get why you're raving about it. Then I've seen some criticism of the deaths, which, to me, I didn't find them violent. I found them silly. And what happened here is, I guess you're supposed to be shocked at these, you know, and feel some kind of emotional weight that these people are being shot that you see on screen. The problem is, you only spend 2 or 3 minutes getting to know these characters, and then they get shot. So I couldn't give a shit about them when they're dying, so it has no impact. And you're killing that many of them. By the time you get to the 10th one being shot, the impact of killing someone doesn't have any impact anymore. So the premise of the film falls apart pretty quickly. So I was just bored shitless. Going, yeah, okay. Yeah, another one dead. Come on, get on with it.
Well, we got Cooper Hoffman in here, son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. We watched him in Licorice Pizza. A couple of years ago, which he was great in. In this, was he great? I don't know. I don't think it was his fault. It's not that he wasn't great, but I think, again, the material was just, it wasn't there. There was no character building. The best in it was David Johnson, who is a British actor. He's obviously playing American in this. People might know him if they've seen Industry. He was one of the young actors in that in the first season or so. I thought he was good in this. He was the best thing in it for me. The character I liked the most, the one that was kind of like, you know, the most relatable in a lot of ways. But still not enough to save this film from being a turkey. A turkey shoot, should we say. Yeah, I agree. You know, the killing of the people, you kind of expect that anyway. That's the whole point, wasn't it? You know, they're going a long walk, and if you in any way stray from the rules, you're going to get offed. But boring or great. Yeah. Another person shot in the head. I mean, what you said about caring about some of the characters if they get shot, some of them were really odious characters. So you think, well, I'm kind of glad you got shot because you causing the deaths of others.
The thing is, when you set up a film like this, where it's like, oh, it's just repetitive killing kind of thing, there's just no impact. And you can take a film where, like, just one person gets killed in the last 10 minutes of a film, and you've built up to it, and the impact of that is so much more.
Yeah.
So that's why film like this, I just find silly. I mean, It was almost like a sci-fi channel movie from the 90s. It was just like that kind of level of, oh, this is just crap. And a waste of Mark Hamill's.
I was about to say Mark Hamill's character was not developed whatsoever. You see him at the start giving his grisly orders out, hey kids, good luck to you all, son, and all that. And then you see him at the end, and it's just kind of like, you never get to find out what makes him tick, what's you know, like you said, a waste of a great villain. Because that was one of the things I was looking forward to. I thought, oh, Mark Hamill as a villain, yes, he loves that stuff. He really gets his teeth into it, but the material just wasn't there. Yeah, just wasn't there for it.
incredibly disappointing. Far better dystopian films out there. The Running Man being one of them we've just mentioned.
Well, there's a new version of that, so we're going to have to check that out.
Yeah,
so stay tuned on a future podcast. We'll probably cover it. But yeah, as for this one, psychological horror, dystopian sci-fi, survival, teen horror, shite. Sorry. Right, we go from one thing to the other here, because now we're going to talk about Anemone, which is a new British drama, psychological drama, from first-time director, Ronan Day-Lewis, who is the son of Daniel Day-Lewis, who he co-wrote the film with, who also stars in the film alongside Sean Bean and Samantha Morton, most notably. The synopsis for this film says, in northern England, a man heads out on a journey into the woods to reconnect with his estranged hermit brother, with whom he shared a complicated past that was altered by life-changing events decades ago. Very sparse film. There's not many actors in it other than those three. There's the son, and there's and the son's girlfriend, a couple of side characters, but kind of focuses on the relationship between Sean Bean and his brother, and both of their relationship to Samantha Morton. All takes place in only a couple of locations, mostly in his little cabin in the woods there. He's living off in the woods on his own. We get the impression from them that they were both in the army in different ways. Daniel Day-Lewis's character was in Ireland, and I think it's inferred that Sean Bean's character was SAS or something like that, like Special Forces. So we find out as they talk to each other everything that's gone on and the relationship, and it does it in a very clever way. I think when the first 20 minutes of the film, you scratching your head and you're thinking, what's the score here? Why is this guy living out in the woods? How's Sean Bean related to him? What's going on? But it's very quiet. It's very little dialogue at first, just looks between them and the odd thing, and then as we go on, we learn more and more, and it's actually unfurls the story in a very clever and beautiful way, I thought. Very beautiful looking film as well. This young lad, he's obviously knows a thing or two about how to capture a beautiful image, because there's some very, very nice stuff to look at in there. Very strong performances from formerly retired actor Daniel Day-Lewis, who has come out of retirement to do this one. I think he just can't be arsed with the whole circus of Hollywood and movies, so every time he does a film he says, I'm retired now, but then when something comes along he wants to do again, he just goes and does it. But that's how he keeps away the wolves from the door. But Sean Bean, again, another actor I think is fantastic, especially put him in the right role, and this was the right role, because it goes to show what a great actor he is, that you put him up against Daniel Day-Lewis, so you gotta be able to hold your own with that guy, otherwise you'll just look fucking silly. And he did. I thought he did a very good job. Samantha Morton, another one of our great actors, brilliant. Think she's always good. No exception here. She was really good in it. It's a very personal story. It's a story about a family. Even though there's all this stuff going on in the past, it's very much about relationships, about estrangement and responsibility to family, etc. And those themes were covered very well in the way that they did it. I thought it was kind of like, we just talked about less is more. Well, this film almost signifies that for me, a less is more film. It tells you very little, but shows you a hell of a lot, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a real gem, great British film. Was really glad this one came out of nowhere. What did you think?
Yeah, so... to start with, the biggest thing is the cinematography was absolutely breathtaking. This is picture postcard stuff. The colours are lush, the movement of the camera, like coming out of the bushes and stuff, and the colours and the greens, and some of the landscape shots captured. It is just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. If this is a kind of like showpiece for what cinematically we will get from Ronan Day-Lewis, going forward, I'm very excited to see
definitely
what he will tackle.
Totally agree.
The performances, as expected, to be honest, because they say Daniel Day-Lewis and Sean Bean were immaculate. Perhaps the best performances of the year, maybe. Absolutely brilliant. But I expect that. And they just delivered exactly what I expected. The monologues from Day-Lewis in some of those scenes are just gripping, absolutely gripping. And you're just like, wow. As you say, back out of retirement for the 5th time. It's one of them ones.
Why not?
The crux of the story is interesting. You know, as you say, it's like about the troubles and what happened there, and obviously there's a lot of trauma and stuff going on. There's this whole thing with his son and all this, and so it's a very interesting story that does unfold nicely. It's emotional. You are like, wow, this is heavy shit, right? And not the same kind of topic, but particularly in terms of fathers and children, it gave me some vibes of After Sun that came out a few years ago. The only thing was, for me, this film was too long. It was stretched out, and some of that space in between was like, this is a bit boring and flat now, you know. But by the time it gets to the next full-on scene, it's really, really great. But it was just too... It was like, oh, if you compress this down to, 80, 90 minutes, you'd really tighten this up. In some ways, it felt like almost like a stage play.
Yeah.
So it was like, if you just this,
I agree,
and you'd achieve something much better. That would be my criticism. It's like there's a bit too much padding towards the runtime, but the concepts and stuff that were going on were brilliant. Not that you don't want the empty space, because as you said, those kind of looks and stuff and the quieter moments are something with Day-Lewis and Sean Bean kind of looking at each other and doing stuff, and you need that, but there was stuff in between that where you're like, just get on with it now. You do get to this next bit. So that would be my criticism. But all in all, a strong debut, and a very interesting to keep an eye on what's next.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, it is a debut film, so you can forgive him some of the indulgences. Like you said, he's obviously keen to make a name for himself outside of his father's legacy, which is fair enough, But I totally agree with you. Maybe could have been 15, 20 minutes shorter, just taking little bits here and there that it's just a little bit extraneous, and could have made a much more tighter piece.
We learnt our violence from the #1 regional champion, and he had some stiff competition.
Like you said, I totally agree. Can't wait to see what he's going to come out with next. And hopefully it means even if he goes back into retirement, he'll still come out again for the right project.
Hopefully so.
But for me, 2 thumbs up. British class at its best. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic. Here we go on the home stretch. The next film we're talking about today is Spinal Tap II, The End Continues, which is a sequel to the 1984 film This Is Spinal Tap, one of my favourite films of all time, no joke. I must have seen it 100 times, at least feels like that. An absolute legendary film. Do you remember when we went to uni and the first film they played for us, what was it? Spinal Tap. Absolutely brilliant choice. Of course, I'd seen it before then many times, and I've seen it many times since. It's one of those films I could never get bored of. You could put it on any time. I know all the lines, like a lot of people do, and the scenes are legendary. So this was a tall order from the start. It's a sequel, of course. We've still got Michael McKean, Christopher Guest, and Harry Shearer returning as the 3 dudes from the band. It's directed by Rob Reiner again, who plays the character of Marty DeBurgi, the film director in the film. So that's kind of cool. Again, it's done as a sort of modern rockumentary, or mockumentary as it's known, which suits it because it needs to be a bit more modernized. And this is 40 years later they're doing this, or 41 years later. So like I say, it was a tall order. I never expected it to be as funny or as legendary as the first film, because how's it gonna be? Catching up with these characters as old men, really, men in their late 70s, still trying to it's got something to say with that, because you get a lot of that with rock stars, don't you? The Rolling Stones are still going, and even though half the band's dead, and that kind of thing. So it's got stuff to say like that. But I was quite surprised going in with little or next to no aspirations for it. I found it to be quite hilarious. In some places, I was laughing my ass off where I wasn't expecting to. They are old now, though. That's all I can say. They are old. But you got some great cameos in here. You got Paul McCartney turns up. Elton John's in there. They've got other people interviewed talking about them as if they are a genuine bona fide band. They've got some good stuff playing some of their famous tunes. That's the one thing as well, though. They didn't really write many new tunes for this. It was all leaning on the old Sex Farm Woman, Big Bottoms, Stonehenge, all the classic Tap stuff,
Yeah.
It was more about like these guys being old and out of touch, wasn't it? But therein lies the humour. I mean, Christopher Guest has gone on to make a career of these kind of mockumentary films. You've had The Mighty Wind and Best in Show, and For Your Consideration, he's done loads of them, and they always star these guys as well. Michael McKean's in there, Harry Shearer, all the other great improvisational actors that he likes to work with. But obviously they've worked with Rob again, coming in to do this one. He plays his own role in it, which is hilarious. But I wasn't, as a massive fan of the first one, I wasn't as disappointed in this as I thought it was going to be. It was actually a good little laugh. I watched it with my mate, who has also been a fan of Tap for years. We've watched it together many times, so it was a good person to watch it with. And they enjoyed it too. We both had a good giggle.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, you're kind of expecting this now, going in thinking, oh God,
Is this going to be terrible?
Yeah, because we've had so many of these things in the last few years that, you think, what's going to go on here?
Left it too long to make a sequel, basically.
Yeah, and it's been such a long time. The premise is good, though. It's like, oh, well, the promoters died and they've found the contract. They've got to do one last gig. It's kind of, it's kind of absurd but funny, kind of believable little thing. Is like they've got to do this one last gig. They don't get on as much anymore. You've got those internal squabbles. And you've got those bits in the studio, which, I was actually getting the vibes of the Get Back sessions. Now we've just seen the series the other year on Disney, of course, with the Beatles, and like some of the kind of spats going on. It was almost like George Harrison walking out. It was like, we of course get Paul McCartney. That I found that bit hilarious. He pops along for a play. I got a suggestion for you guys.
Yeah, they're
David
all offended.
Yeah, David afterwards. Yeah, I'm not a fan. He's got this sort of toxic personality. Comes in here telling us what to do. Very funny. Obviously, all kinds of celebrities turning up in it. Elton John, as you say, and he's in at the end as well. They play Stonehenge, gets squashed. Goff, Bruce Questlove, Lars Ulrich. Chad Smith. Everyone wants to be involved because of their love for the original, I guess. So it makes it kind of fun and vibes with the what they're trying to approach. I did enjoy Kerry Godliman, who played the daughter of the original manager in this.
She was great.
She was really funny.
Yeah.
That's some great lines in there. How's your father? He's dead, so he's not doing too well, actually.
Yeah.
And then Chris Addison, of course, one of my favourite comedy actors, playing the kind of promoter, was just such a Simon Cowell buffoon.
You know what? That was the one part of it I didn't gel with, because I like him too.
Really?
I like him. He is a funny actor, great British actor, but for some reason I felt like his character was a little bit too caricature of that kind of, that whole thing about if one of you could die. It's like, come on. I mean, there's funny, but that's just one step too far for me. It's like, even Simon Cowell wouldn't say that, because it's just fucking ridiculous. He's never going to ask one of the members of the band to die. And I just found that with his character was just over-egged. It's not his fault, because he was great as he just did his lines, but whoever was writing his character, I felt, was too much. It was too much. It was too stupid. It was like,
I did like the kind of, are you going to get up and learn your dancing now and all that? I was like, that's quite funny. Like, it's approach. But fair enough, yeah. It was a there was plenty of giggles in there.
There was.
Of course, it's nowhere near the original or anything like that.
It was never going to be there when we knew that.
No, but it was certainly like you have a laugh with this. It's exactly what I guess it's the best you could make it, perhaps with what you have at your fingertips 40 years later.
Sure.
Everyone did their job great. They still sounded great and played the instruments great and everything. Is
Nigel working in the cheese shop.
Yeah, the cheese shop. Yeah.
Trading guitars for blocks of cheese.
Oh, and you have the cheese shop, and then of course the Museum of Glue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely some laughs in there. They didn't do a terrible job. I hope they don't do any more after this.
No, leave it at that. Yeah.
2's enough. Unless you had a very strong idea. I mean, it'd have to be a little bit more sort of manufactured, Spinal Tap go to, like the Beatles, talking of the Beatles, remember when they went to Manila or wherever it was, the Philippines, and if you did that with them, it'd be quite funny. But it would have to be a bit more scripted and manufactured, I think. Don't want to give them any ideas. Don't do it, boys. Just retire gracefully.
Would you settle for a coma?
Oh, no, that's interesting. That's a great bit of thinking outside, well, the literal box, I suppose.
So definitely a thumbs up from me. And let us know what you thought of Spinal Tap. I found a great concert they did. I think it was Wembley Stadium or somewhere back in the 90s. So it was like a reunion concert. And it's on YouTube, so I'll put a link to that in the description for anyone who wants to see that. But it's well worth a watch. It's a full concert. They do all the numbers in it, the famous numbers, but there's also some hilarious stuff that happens on stage as well. Well worth a watch. And they play and sing really well live. They are talented guys. They wrote their own stuff. They play. They sing. They do it all. So as I say, I'll put a link to that video I found on YouTube for anyone who wants to see the reunion concert. It's pretty funny, pretty good. Okay, the next movie is a genuine documentary. This is John Candy, I Like Me, which was directed by Colin Hanks, actor and son of Tom Hanks. Is now obviously branching into making his own films. His dad's in this, talking about John as well, because he starred with him in Splash, of course. So it's basically a retrospective on the life of actor and comedian John Candy. Beloved actor and comedian John Candy. I, for one, absolutely adore him, always have, love his films. Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains and Automobiles, 2 of my favourite films of all time, never tire of watching them. So you've got people talking about him like Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Steve Martin, Catherine O'Hara, all these great people that have worked with him over the years. Eugene Levy was another one he came up with, as I've already mentioned, Tom Hanks, and loads of footage from TV and film and interviews he did over the years. Interesting stuff about his life that you may never have known. He did all that stuff with the sports teams and helping people out a lot. He was a very generous guy by all accounts. You got his son in there talking about him. You got this idea that his father died when he was young because he had a massive heart attack. He's obviously a very big guy as well. Ultimately, that's what ended up happening to Candy. So you've got Candy's son in there talking about it. So it does really pull some emotional weight in when they're talking about his life story as well. Really well put together piece. Had some hilarious stuff in there I'd never seen before. Some of that stuff from the early television show he did. What was it called? SCTV, which is kind of like the Canadian Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Second City Television. Yeah,
oh my God, some of that was hilarious. They did that one about the coward. The yellow belly, the coward, and he shoots the kid in the back and then shoots his mother. Whoa, I was creased over with that.
It's the funniest thing.
It was great, wasn't it? Just for that one little clip, I thought, oh my God, that is so funny. But quite an emotional journey. He had his daughter, I think, in there as well, talking about him and his son, as I mentioned. Powerful stuff. He's so beloved. He's just one of those guys, you can't pin anything bad on him. He never did anything bad. He was just a super straight up nice guy that everybody loved. And, why not have a celebratory documentary made about him, long overdue probably, but I thought it was great.
Yeah, so do I, and he's one of my favourites as well. I absolutely adore him. He was so much. I mean, he was almost him in everything he was in. He was a personality, right?
Yeah.
And he was so shining of like just fun and love and life. So it's hard to watch actually in some ways when you see something like this as like how much he was struggling, the alcoholism and all kinds of drugs and stuff like this going on in the background, and how much he was struggling with that concept of his father and his own mortality, and the people trying to say things to him to help him and say do this or do that or whatever, and him not really engaging with that until the very end, and it was perhaps too late. Which was a real shame. But it was lovely to see all, kind of the home video footage, all the stuff we'd never seen before, archive footage and stuff. It was nice to see. I did love all the kind of like the disdain he had for the press and the Hollywood machine, especially their kind of always picking on him for his weight and stuff like that, and him just being like, in a very polite way.
That's the thing. He might have had disdain for him, but he never really showed it, did he? He was always such a nice, lovely guy, even in the face of that kind of, stupid mentioning of his weight and things like that. It's like he handled it with grace and as a gentleman.
And all the celebrities turned up for this one who all loved him, all the people who worked with him.
Oh yeah.
And it was nice to hear all them stories. Obviously, to revisit his catalogue of films, some of the best films ever, really. Plane, Trains and Automobiles, especially, is like just such a.
I say that and Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck, yeah.
Beat him.
And it was a lovely, emotional, but heartwarming kind of couple of hours or whatever, and a really enjoyable look at someone very special, I think.
I think Colin Hanks did a very good job of putting it together as well, because it did flow, and you got that idea of his life as a whole, from him being young in Canada and stuff, and growing up and he's into football and playing football and stuff, wasn't he? But also then getting into the performing side of things and developing that sort of comedic actor, and then becoming Hollywood legend. It's told that story very well. And like you said, it had everybody in it who you'd want to see, all of his major co-stars, Steve Martin, etc. They were all in there singing his praises. Johnny Toronto.
It's crazy to think, though. It's like, what's that? Almost 30 years since he died.
I think it is over 30 years. It's crazy. 1994, so 31 years since he died. At the age of 43.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It was terrible at the time, I remember. John Candy's died, and it was like, oh my God, no. Of all people. He's like when Robin Williams died, just someone you just don't want to lose, because everybody, pretty much without exception, loves them. And it's rare when you get someone like that, because usually these kind of famous people and movie stars, you always get someone that, Jim Carrey, some people love him, other people don't like him, whatever. He splits opinion. But now and again, you get people like John Candy that pretty much everybody just adored. It's fantastic. Yeah. So, long overdue. You can see this on Amazon Prime if you want to. That's who made it, so it's going to be on there for anyone to see. There may be other places you can see as well, but I do recommend it. I think it's a fantastic film, documentary. And if you're a fan of the man, absolutely essential viewing. Thumbs up. Okay, and the last film is The Naked Gun. This is directed by Akiva Schaffer and stars Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson, Paul Walter Hauser, and Danny Houston. It is the fourth in the series of Naked Gun films, which started all the way back in 1988. The Naked Gun, from The Files of Police Squad, David Zucker, and his brother. I think it's his brothers anyway that did the original series. Then he directed the first two movies, that one and Naked Gun 2 in 1991, famously starring Leslie Nielsen. And then there was a third one in 1994, directed by someone else, but still written by David Zucker. Leslie Nielsen was Frank Drebin, obviously. We all know that. And irreplaceable, really. So it was a bit of a shock to me to hear that I thought it was a remake, they're remaking Naked Gun. But as it turns out, Liam Neeson plays Frank Drebin Jr., the son of Leslie Nielsen. So they do a bit of a joke on that. There's a bit of a play there of George Kennedy's character. His son's played by Paul Walter Hauser. And there was also somebody who is supposed to be O.J. Simpson's son. They made a bit of a funny joke there that we saw in the trailer. I didn't like the idea of it when I first heard about it. And then when I watched the trailer with Liam Neeson as the little schoolgirl and foiling a bank robbery and stuff, I kind of thought, oh, God, really? This looks terrible. Because, Liam Neeson, when I think of Liam Neeson, I think of Oscar Schindler and Schindler's List. I think of Rob Roy. Remember that? Rob Roy McGregor. I think of Taken, unfortunately, those kind of things. Tough guy action movie. I do not think about comedy. Having said that, he wasn't half bad in this. And I'm pleased to report it was a lot funnier than I expected it to be. I thought I was going to be groaning all the way through. But actually, there were some laughs in this, of that kind of humour. Because, it's very silly, very visual humour, always was. In fact, the first three movies, I go as far to say, are legendary. It's a brilliant trilogy because, they don't need to be written particularly well. It's not about the story. It's about how many gags you can fit into 90 minutes. You know what I mean? That's what The Police Squad was always about. And that's what Leslie Nielsen was always about. He always made those sort of films. So, to think of The Naked Gun without him in, and of all people putting Liam Neeson in instead of a comedy actor, you kind of think, what? And Pamela Anderson, who I love, I'm glad her career is having a bit of a renaissance because I think she's fantastic. She was very good in this. So I was quite pleasantly surprised. And in fact, some of the jokes in this were outrageous. If you remember the thermal imaging scene, I thought, oh my God, that's actually quite outrageous, really. Some of it was a bit groany. Some of it was a bit like, oh God, that's awful. But not so much of it that it made it a bad film. It was actually, a good hour and 25 minutes of some laughs. There were some laughs in there, and I didn't really expect it. And Liam Neeson, as much as I said he's not a comedy actor, he actually, by the end, I thought he did a pretty good job with the material.
He did. I was... I love the original films. I love the Zucker Brothers. Airplane's one of my favourite films of all time. And so obviously that follows in the footsteps of that. So yeah, when they first announced this and the first announcement was mentioned that Seth MacFarlane was going to direct it. He became the producer in the end, but you can tell he's got his fingerprints on it. But I was that was what intrigued me. I thought, okay, I like Family Guy and Seth MacFarlane. I wonder what he could do with it. Then they said it was going to be Liam Neeson, and I went, yeah, that's you, what? So yeah, when I finally got that chance to sit down and watch it, and yeah, I was like, actually, this is exactly what it needed to be. It's incredibly silly, which is exactly what the original films are. It's full of visual gags. There's actually so much going on, as in the originals, that you're missing things because it's just so much shit that's happening. Some of it works and some of it doesn't, but that's again
that's
what
par
happens.
for the course.
Yeah, that's always been the case with these kind of films where but there's just a bit of something for everyone. But there's some very funny moments, it gets more outrageous. As you say, the thermal imaging bit was like, it
was a very Austin Powers sort of joke, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
but
exactly
they took
that.
it to the next level, and it was like, oh my God.
My favourite scene of the film, I think, was when they had the romantic weekend. They went, Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson go off to the lodge and they have a threesome with a magical snowman, but it all turns a bit violent, and they have to kill the snowman. It's just so absurd, but you're just there laughing your arse off. They captured the essence of those original films. They cleverly didn't remake it. It was or
Yeah.
reboot it. It was like, no, we're just gonna have it as a sequel.
That was a good choice, I thought.
It was a very good choice. They gave all them nods to the original, and just filled it with gag after gag after gag, and enough of it works for you to go, yeah, this is a great laugh.
Definitely.
Another worthy entry in the franchise. And, you know, I think out of modern... Because the one thing I've said before is, like, there's not that many great comedies come out these days.
No.
This is a good one. This is like... Just do more of this, actually. Not more Naked Gun, but more this kind of... Just make me laugh.
They probably will, though. Because it's that kind of franchise, isn't it, where you can just squeeze the sequels out. So
yeah,
I can see more coming along. I don't know how it performed, but I imagine it did well enough for them to make more of it. And did you know as well that Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson actually got together as an item afterwards?
Yes, they seem to be very...
That's crazy, isn't it? You know, crazy. I mean, good on them, you know. They're enjoying their lives. It's fantastic. But I was quite surprised. I thought, oh, geez.
It was funny as well. I did see a radio interview after the film came out. And they were talking to Liam Neeson somewhere in the studio. And they're like, oh, how do you manage to... do all these comedy scenes but be so deadpan kind of thing, and he's just got a straight face of just like, I just think of my dead mother kind of thing, and it's the whole radio station's bursting out laughing. Like he's so good with it, the whole deadpan thing. He really impressed me in this of like, he manages to do it. And
even though it didn't work sometimes, the fact that he gave it 110% made you sort of forgive him and think, you know what, yeah, that's fine. You can be Frank Drebin Jr. because you just give it so much beans and you've committed to it 100% that you have to kind of admire him for that. I'd rather see him actually do this than all that Taken bollocks anyway, because I just find them boring, you know.
Well, they're boring. And kind of in a way, it's like, it's kind of a perfect way to kind of see out your final years of your career. Kind of go, I'll have some fun with this. Yeah. Than doing shit like that. Where,
and got himself a girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
And not just any girlfriend, bloody Pamela Anderson.
Exactly, the best.
The best you could ask for, exactly. So yeah, I'd say thumbs up. Fantastic. Definitely worth a watch if you fancy a giggle, especially at Christmas. You can want to stick something on after you've had a couple of drinks and you just want to have a laugh, then it's perfect for that. Very silly, very bawdy, but you know, that's what you expect from these films. Well, there we go. That is another podcast from us, Dave. 71 podcasts for the More Movies podcast. It's quite a lot.
It is.
So we will return next year at some point, God knows when, but we'll be back. This year, what have we done? We've had some articles go up on the website, so check out the website, moremovies.co.uk, full of film reviews. All of the podcasts we've ever done are up there somewhere, listed. So basically, everything More Movies can be found on the central hub of our website. Which the address is on screen for now, obviously links below as well. So please do indulge us and go and have a look at some of the material over there if you're a movie maniac like we are.
Of course, we're all on social media, as always. We're mainly on Blue Sky and Instagram. We do have a Facebook as well, but we're not on that very much. But go check us out on those. More Movies for You. The links are all in the description down below, and we'll be posting all our articles and videos that we release as they come and go, and much other great movie content.
Absolutely. Good opportunity as well to say thank you to our regular supporters, Michele and Shayne, who are both subscribers on our Patreon page. Thank you very much for continuing to stick with us, you two. We really appreciate that. If you are feeling thrifty and want to support us, then you can do so on Buy Me a Coffee. and Patreon, as I've just mentioned. The links are in the description below. Non-financial ways to support us are just sharing our videos or liking or commenting on these things. We really, really do appreciate that all the more these days. So, let us know your thoughts and engage with us. We always enjoy listening to other people's opinions and having some fun going back and on these social media sites, as Dave mentioned. So please do that.
And of course, if you want to listen to us in audio-only format as well, or you already do, we are on all the podcast channels with this podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, all the usual places. There's a link in the description below where you can find all of that.
So, Dave, here we are heading into 2026. Anything you can think of that is on the horizon you're looking forward to next year?
I think there's quite a few exciting films, really. I mean, just before this, I'll be going to watch Wicked at the end of this week, so that'll be great fun. And we do have Marty Supreme coming out this Christmas.
Yeah.
So they're going to be fun. And of course, going into next year, we've got the third Dune film, which is going to be very exciting. And we've got the new Christopher Nolan film, The Odyssey, as the summer blockbuster.
Which I know you're going to love because you love Christopher Nolan.
Exactly.
We've already seen a small preview trailer, so that's looking good. There's a couple of films that have come out this year that we haven't covered yet that we might tag on and get to early on next year. Things like I Swear, that I know you saw. I've still got to catch up and watch that, which is another British film about a lad with Tourette's in Scotland. Looks really good, based on a true story. You said it was excellent. I'm looking forward to that. Wasn't this? Oh yeah, that Begonia as well is another Yorgos Lanthimos film that we are yet to see and can cover in future podcasts, I'm sure. So there's a few still remaining. I mean, usually we catch up on things like that before the Oscars, which usually around March time. So Black Phone 2 as well was another one we mentioned that we might get to. The Smashing Machine came out and we didn't cover that yet, but I probably will get around to watching that at some point. So plenty to catch up on and to look forward to next year, as you say. But I think that's it for 2025. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, whichever one you are accessing it through.
When I tell him about this, he'll be delighted to hear that you gave us your fullest cooperation, for which we are most grateful.
But that's it for this podcast, and come and join us in 2026. And as we always say, continue to watch more movies.
That's it for this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And remember to like, share and subscribe right here on YouTube. For more film reviews and articles, check out our website moremovies.co.uk. And join us on social media at More Movies For You. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all across the board. You know the score. If you enjoy what we do, please consider supporting us at buymeacoffee.com or join us on one of our packages on Patreon. The links are in the description down below. And for more filmtastic content, click one of the buttons on screen now.